India's week of geopolitical posturing kicks off. French President Emmanuel Macron arrived in Mumbai, eyeing a fighter jet deal and AI cooperation. And on Wednesday, Brazilian leader Lula da Silva will follow him to deepen ties with New Delhi. Then both leaders will attend India's landmark AI summit. So can India's diplomatic drive help make it a pivotal global power? I'm Neil Harvey, and today's newsmaker is India. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is seeking to bolster India's position in global affairs. On Tuesday, he hosted Emmanuel Macron in Mumbai, where a blockbuster defence deal is on the agenda. Last week, New Delhi gave initial approval to reportedly buy 114 French Rafale fighter jets, plus other military equipment. The total cost, around $40 billion. And Macron's visit also follows the landmark free trade agreement between India and the European Union signed last month. While Europe pivots towards India, fellow BRICS member Brazil is also seeking stronger ties with New Delhi. President Lula da Silva is travelling to India this week with a large delegation of ministers and top CEOs to talk trade, investment, energy and minerals. And in addition, India is hosting the first major AI summit to be held in the global south, with world leaders and tech executives among the long list of attendees. But what do these engagements say of India's geopolitical status, and can it become a genuine counterweight to the world's major powers? Let's take a closer look.
India is having its time in the geopolitical limelight. As Washington ramps up tariffs and China throws its industrial weight around, a growing number of European leaders are reaching out to India for diplomatic, trade and industrial ties. France's Emmanuel Macron is the latest European leader to visit India as he commences a 3-day visit on Tuesday. The visit comes off the back of a massive EU-India free trade agreement that was signed in January. Macron's visit comes on the cusp of India signing a mega deal for French-made Rafale fighter jets, the purchase of which could add up to almost $40 billion.
India-France partnership knows no boundaries.
An Indian government panel gave preliminary approval for the purchase of fighter jets and maritime patrol aircraft from the French manufacturer, and it is still subject to final approvals. French direct investment in India would also be boosted, as key aspects of the jet's manufacturing would take place in new factories to be established in India. India is the world's largest arms importer and is rapidly trying to reduce its dependence on Russia for weapons, fighter aircraft and military hardware. Meanwhile, Europe is trying to rejuvenate its arms manufacturing industry following US President Donald Trump's America First agenda, which has thrown traditional transatlantic partnerships into doubt and disarray.
It is important to know that this year, in 2026, India holds the presidency of the BRICS and France, at the same time, holds the presidency of the G7. So the idea is to say, here is how, drawing on this political moment and these two presidencies, we can build a common agenda in a world where precisely multilateralism, multilateral cooperation are increasingly threatened.
And when it comes to BRICS nations, Brazil's president is also set to visit India in the coming days. India and Brazil are members of BRICS, a grouping of nations for which US President Donald Trump has shown a clear ideological disdain. Da Silva's visit and Macron's will overlap with a major AI impact summit in New Delhi. India is attempting to position itself as a leader in global AI governance and collaboration, and push for better representation in the global south in AI business and tech development. The summit, which Prime Minister Narendra Modi opened on Monday, is expected to host over 250,000 visitors, 20 national leaders, and CEOs of tech giants like OpenAI and Google. It will focus on global and online safety concerns, especially over AI-generated misinformation, disinformation, and deepfake imagery. Macron recently lashed out at AI-generated disinformation and powerful false narratives boosted by tech and social media at a security conference in Munich last week.
And I speak under the control of several leaders largely attacked during the electoral process. And information manipulation, foreign interference amplified by online platforms and social media is clearly a critical issue for all of us. How is that the craziest and most harmful narratives can go unchecked in our digital space, where they would fall under the law if published in print?
As nations and traditional allies put a growing distance between themselves and the US, India emerges as an increasing partner of choice, as well as a potential alternative to China.
And joining me now are from Brasilia, the CEO of Casa Politica and former director of the Brazilian Trade and Investment Promotion Agency, Marcio Coimbra, from Saint-Malo in France, senior research fellow at the Global Policy Institute, Jacques Reland, and from Indore in India, geopolitical analyst, Gulrez Sheikh. Welcome to you all. I want to start with you, Jacques, because India struck a major free trade agreement with the European Union not too long ago. Now it's on the cusp of making an arms deal that's reportedly worth around $40 billion with France. Now, that's a deal for fighter jets that Russia, India's main arms supplier, had reportedly been trying to get its hands on. Is this a sign that India is moving away from its BRICS partner, Russia, and towards Europe?
I don't know about that. I think that, the relationship between France and India is long-standing. It started in 1998, the first strategic partnership between France and India. And India already has bought a fair number of jets. India has already 62 Rafale jets. So it's one of the great purchasers of it. And in the last Pakistani-India conflict over India, they realized that the Air Force was mainly constituted of Russian planes, which were not up to the fight. Pakistan had the latest Chinese jets, and they were really highly superior to the Russian material. And the Rafale is acknowledged as probably one of the best planes in the world, and it has one set that is multitasking, can do all kinds of things. Okay, it's not very good on stealth, but otherwise it can carry all kinds of weapons. It can be used by the Navy. That's why, France took a long time before sending it, until 2015. America was always trying to sabotage France sales following the France attitude on Iraq. And in 2015, finally sold to Egypt, and after that, other countries, Brazil, Indonesia, Qatar, Serbia, bought it. So it's a well tested and proven plane, and I doubt whether Russia could interfere with this deal.
Marcio, let's bring you in, because there was a recent deal with the United States that India made to get tariffs reduced on India's exports. It came at a cost, though, because it meant no more Russian oil coming in. Now, would you see that as India choosing the path of least pain, prioritising its exports to America over imports from Russia? And also, when you put that on top of the weapons deal with France, is there not a risk that this is going to upset Russia and hurt relations with them?
Yes, indeed. It looks like that India is looking for a common ground to move forward. And looks like that a partnership with the US, since President Trump is a very transactional leader, and it's putting much before ideology, the pragmatism of markets being part of it. And I think also the Board of Peace that Trump is putting together is also something that can make a difference in this partnership with India, since it's gonna bring BRICS to another level, to a lower level, I would say. BRICS is gonna lose importance, and it looks like the Board of Peace, with the Board of Peace, Trump is making more a transactional movement with the markets towards some allies of the BRICS and allies from Russia and China that tend to strengthen ties with the US much more than we thought before. It's a smart way in an international scenario to make a move without firing any shots and doing any embargo. So it looks like to me that the pieces in this chess match are moving slowly, but definitely to another position.
I'm going to stay on that theme. Let's bring in Gulrez. Gulrez, on that point of the Board of Peace, do you think that when it's fully established, is it going to have a significant impact on global geopolitical ties and also trade relations in a way that might impact India?
Well, as far as India is concerned, India is no longer a balancing power, and it is not caught between China and America. And we are a leading power right now, and that is the reason world is coming towards us. You see, the AI giants, tech giants are in New Delhi. President Macron is in New Delhi, and soon Lula will be also in New Delhi. So this shows that all the roads come to New Delhi. So if anybody want to work vis-a-vis defense partnerships, they have to come to India. If anybody want to rise up the status of the global south, they have to work definitely with India. If anybody want talent in AI and other scientific stuff, then also they have to come to India. So the pivot to India is a real thing, and I once again say that all roads leads to New Delhi in today's day and age.
I want to stay with you, Gulrez, because you're speaking positively, and I want to know, as the world's biggest military importer at the moment, India, what impact does that have on the role and the influence that India has?
Definitely, we do have influence. We have influence on Russia. We have influence on United States. We do have influence on European Union countries and France and Britain, every place, because we are the world's largest importer. But we are not just the importer. Today's India is also exporter. We do export BrahMos missiles. We do export a lot of other ammunition, as well as we do export Tejas. So Tejas aircrafts. So India is not just a net importer of defense hardware. We are also the exporter. And I'm very much optimistic that once Lula will be here, Brazilian president, there will be many deals, including the deal of defense. And it's very much possible, since Brazil is also upgrading its military, they may go for Indian-made stuff.
Marcio, let's come back to you. Gulrez was just saying that, India's not playing the role of balancing power anymore. And I was just looking at some of the stats. So most of India's exports go to the United States. Most of India's imports come from China. So it has important relationships with the two opposing global superpowers. Is that changing? I mean, does India have to be careful? Does it have to play a delicate kind of role in how it keeps both of those parties happy? Or can it be more of a disruptor now and go its own way?
No, I think that India is playing in a smart way this position right now, because it has dialogue with both superpowers, China and United States, and is moving gently between all of them, between both of them. So it looks like to me that India is making a smart move. Like Guru said, I think that India has this connection with China that is important, with the United States that is important, it also with the global south. So India is positioned itself in a smart way as a hub where every nation needs to focus and where every nation needs to balance and look with attention to what India is doing, because India is doing a smart job playing in all the games that are being played. And I think that will bring, if it's playing it smart, it's gonna bring India to a different level, to an upper level as a geopolitical leader in Asia and in the world.
Jacques, let's talk a bit more about BRICS. So the fact that India is part of it, does that mean that naturally, over time, it's going to gravitate further south and further east and away from, for example, the United States, where you've got President Trump who's saying, look, I'm focused on the West, this is my hemisphere as he sees it, and his attentions are much closer to home.
Now, I would like to add to all these points the fact that the reason for Macron's visit here is very significant. This relationship between India and France, which, as I say, started in 1998, has been reinforced, and we have even a strategic partnership since 2018 in the Pacific, is due to the fact that countries have one common position in world affairs. They are not aligned on anybody. They want to preserve their autonomy for India, and in the case of France, for France, but also would like it for Europe. And now we are at a time. Global chaos started by Trump has made the Europeans kind of maybe joining this line too, because the Europeans before were dependent for their security on America, for their energy on Russia, for their trade on China. And they realize that now they need to find other partners. And the national security strategy of the Americans has shown that America has only one aim: to vassalize Europe, to be the main Western power, and to impose its will on the rest of the world outside China. So now is the time for middle powers to kind of converge together and make America and China realize that other partnerships are important. Obviously, India, with its huge population, is a huge part, can be a huge outlet, the same way as Brazil and South America can be for Europe. And what was significant also is the EU-India trade agreement, creating a market of 2 billion people, and which fits in with also with the strategy of Modi perfectly, and the French investment, for example, in Rafale. There's the other side. Modi wants India to become a manufacturing power, and in the case of the sale of the Rafale planes, there will be technology transfers. 90 planes will be manufactured in India. So all that is good for India, good for Europe. It's a win-win situation. And it's a sign saying to the America, you want to make it difficult for us to sell to you, we'll find other partners.
Gulrez, India's got the world's biggest population, 1.4 billion, and it's still growing. And it's also something I found particularly interesting when you look at the information, the stats out there. Median age, just 29. Now, that's really, really young compared to US, average age 39, UK 39, China 40, and also I think they're in population decline.
In Japan, even worse.
Japan's even worse. Now, just weigh that up. Is that a positive, and are there any negatives?
Definitely, it is a positive for India. And now it's the time that we harvest the dividends of our what we call as a demographic dividend. So we are harvesting the fruits of demographic dividends. And that is the reason we are seeing the tech giants like Bill Gates or OpenAI or guys, they all in India. Because number one, they also get a lot of data, they get a lot of huge market, plus they also get talent pool. So everybody is looking at India, be it for trade, be it for defense, be it for AI tech. So this is a very educated and young population, and these people are slowly increasing in their financial capacities as well, along with their educational capacities. So they are a boon to the world. And that is why we are seeing all these trajectories that everybody is going to India and want to work with India, and India is rising as a superpower. See, today's world is not a bipolar world, no more a bipolar world, it's a multipolar world. And in a multipolar world, India itself is a pole. And do not forget what Ursula von der Leyen of European Commission, she called India, the deal with India. And between India and EU, the mother of all trade deals, because of the huge market. So she didn't call any other market deal with any other territory as the mother of all trade deals. It was only with India. So this shows the power of India, be it in economics, be it in AI, be it in defense.
Right, gentlemen, listening to all three of you, you've had nothing but positive things to say about where India is going. There has to be, this is reality, there have to be some negatives and there must be some potential risks out there. So, Marcio, if we look at the fact that India seems to be moving away from Russia in terms of where it gets its energy from, its oil imports, and in terms of certainly the latest weapons deal with France, Russia was reportedly looking to get that deal. Is there a risk that India might actually push Russia further towards China for what it needs?
Looks like to me that Russia is already being pushed toward China, and they have a strong alliance together, and that's something that worries the world very much in many aspects. But on the other side, China has a more of a transactional leadership and is looking like wants good business out there, and then this alignment with Russia would not be well seen. On the other hand, India is playing a very smart card. For example, with this agreement that is being signed with Brazil, many agreements are being signed this week in the state visit of President Lula to India. One of them is the energetic transaction, since India is now aiming to use 20% of ethanol in gasoline. And so it's lowering its dependence on Russia and then foreign oil. So it looks like that India is playing a smart card, and playing this smart card is making Russia weaker at this point. And also at the same side, it's looking for partnerships with the European Union, like we've seen in the last weeks and the last month. And all that looks like that India is moving towards the West in a strategic way at this time, and leaving Russia alone on the other side.
Jacques, I want to look at the potential risks. It's only 5 years since India and China had a deadly border dispute. Tensions constantly on the border with Pakistan. I mean, geopolitics is a world of moving tectonic plates. Is there a potential, let's say, for example, relations soured with China, that actually countries start to look elsewhere for their trade and political alliances?
Sorry. Yeah, but we know that the India-China relationship is a bit nervy. It's, they're not, they don't see eye to eye. And there's one area in which, one part of the world in which India is very concerned about the growing role of China is in the Indian Ocean, since China built a big naval base there, and they're concerned about also traffic, boat traffic, navy traffic in South Pacific and so. And that's why there's this strategic partnership between France and India, because France has territories in the Indian Ocean and in the South Pacific. And the weak point of India is its navy. Very old navy, very inferior to that of the Chinese. I think the Chinese have about 3 times as many boats. They're building plane carriers about one a month, I think, they're building new boats all the time. I haven't got the figures, but I know it's quite mind-boggling. And that's why that's the weak point of India is on the sea, and that's why this cooperation with France and Europe is very important to guarantee trade routes in that part of the world.
Gulrez, I was looking at the numbers, and maybe you can make more sense of these than I can. But I mean, India's 4th biggest economy, and it's moving up the rankings in the world. I looked at GDP per capita. It's 30 times less than the United States. Is that something we should be concerned about?
See, we are always concerned about that, but you should not forget that from where we have come from. Just 10 years back, our GDP was half the size of what today it is. And today we are 4th in the world. And just a decade back, we were 11th in the world. Even if you look at raw numbers, we are the fastest growing country in the world in terms of our GDP. So with this young demographic dividend and the global focus and global outreach, we expect that by next year, probably by 2027 or end of 2027, India will be third largest economy in the world. And then we will be direct in competition with China. Yes, we know that China is much ahead of us, but we are optimistic that very soon we will cover the distance.
I'm going to ask a cruel and very quick question to each one of you, yes or no. Is India becoming now a major power in the world? Marcio, yes or no?
Yes, I think it's already is.
Jacques?
Yes, indeed, and it will be it's unavoidable. The size of the population, its influence, it is yes.
And Gulrez?
Yes, we are, and in most of the fields, we are the number one power.
Gentlemen, that wraps it for now. It's been a real pleasure having you on. Thank you so much. Marcio, Jacques, Gulrez, my guest. And thank you to everybody at home for watching. Always my pleasure. And remember, you can follow us on social media and be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. I'm Neil Harvey. This is the Newsmakers. See you soon.